Morning. March 5th. We're meeting World Kreskin. We left off chapter 11. So I will go ahead and start chapter 11. In 1958, the American Medical Association announced its official acceptance of hypnosis as a legitimate aid to the practice of healing. The AMA is conservative and certainly should be where psychic phenomena are concerned. But the announcement came some 2,000 years after the first recorded hints of suggested response in any form, under any name. In 1972, although public interest was higher than ever in the entire field of ESP, medical interest in hypnosis was predictably on the wane again. It peaked in 1958 with an estimated 8% of the doctors and dentists showing some interest, a lesser number actually practicing. Now, practicing involving hypnosis is estimated to be down to 3% and was probably St. Louis. Since late Spurs Day, there have been 5 distinct cycles of public interest in hypnosis, with medical interest appearing to be largely a feedback from the public. The same stimuli now prodding ESP. Although medical science was probably disputed, I believe more knowledge about hypnotism has been unwittingly contributed over the years by the lowly stage hypnotist than by medical science. Proportionately, the medical experience is minute only a fragment of all who have been truly and legitimately hypnotized, have been entered into that state by doctors and dentists. The periodical medical disenchantment has usually come about through overselling. It doesn't cure as a forecast. It remains questionable as an aid in psychiatric treatment. It is not reliable as a pain suppressant. It is not the answer to diet problems or to alcoholism or drug habits. It has only succeeded in a minor way as a deterrent to smoking and improvement in physical skills. Recently, the aforementioned Dr. Bryan of the American Institute of Hypnosis claimed that a time would come when a football team's training schedule called for a period on the hypnotist's couch. Further, he stated that a team physician could use hypnotism to set a player's broken leg or sprained hip almost immediately with practically no pain or swelling. And the representative and the cooperative time would be diminished. said this would be achieved through subconscious control of the autonomic nervous system. It has never lived up to such claims and never will. A number of athletes have sought hypnotic help with varying results. Ray Williams of the Los Angeles Dodgers had a leg problem during the 1962 season. They ached, he said, or at least I got it into my head that they ached, and I began to worry. He reported that under hypnosis he was told to do exercises and that they would not be painful unless there was something physically wrong with his legs. It was amazing, he said. I felt no pain. Of course, some people will say the pain was all in my head in the first place, which is true. Other athletes have reported absolutely no results from hypnotic sessions, and that will be the continuing story. Failures and successes depending on the subject and on the hypnotist. I worked with a golf pro in the New York area who could no longer make a two-point putt. I don't play golf and I know nothing about the game, but I quickly discovered that the man had simply lost confidence in himself. We talked, and I suggested ways that he might regain that self-confidence. Soon, he was making short putts successfully. Hypnosis wasn't the answer, nor was it needed. A Boston Red Sox pitcher had lost his capability to pitch up to his known ability. He came to me hoping I could help in some way. He asked to be hypnotized. Instead, we talked about his state of mind when he was pitching. Well, and I discovered that the personal problems were at the root of his flipping average. Hypnosis could neither have solved these problems nor brought him into a sharper focus, aiding him to throw strikes. When the claims are totally false for hypnosis, in my opinion, are in the area of changing basic personality. It cannot happen with any known technique. Any changes in personality will have to be temporary, no matter what the hypnotist suggests. For all of these reasons, at the end of the cycle of interest, medical science particularly drops in until the next cycle. Hopefully something is learned during the peaks of interest. Predictably, there was considerable hedging in the AMA, except previously mentioned Dr. Harold Rosen headed the association's committee on hypnosis. He quickly went on TV channels to discuss the rather abrupt change in the AMA's attitude. As an interested observer, I caught him on Art Linkletter's house party and other shows and read his statements in the press and magazines. He stressed tremendous dangers of hypnosis. No dentist, no psychiatrist, not even a physician should practice it unless he was also trained in psychiatry, said Dr. Rosen. And above all, it should not be demonstrated on the stage or over TV. The Bibles were all but changed. In fact, it almost appeared that no one should practice it except Dr. Rosen. It was rather astonishing position to take in view of the admitted fact that medical science does not know how to hypnotize or how it works. Dr. Rosen maintained that the use of hypnosis should require a prior in-depth analysis in order to fully understand the subject of patient. Without such analysis, presumably at going rates, Dr. Rosen claimed hypnotic state could be dangerous or hazardous. Further, he cited cases where, in his judgment, it has caused temporary or permanent damage. One extreme case involved a suicide resulting from improper hypnotic treatment, according to Dr. Rosen. As a psychiatrist, Dr. Rosen had to know that the only possible scientific way in which to make definite determination was through an in-depth verbal examination of the deceased. But I assume Dr. Rosen did not go to a medium to accomplish this. Therefore, what he distributed to the TV audience had to be more theory than fact, but it sounded factual. Medicine, unfortunately, joins stage entertainment in vested hypnotic interest. As one of its values, Dr. Aaron Moss, in his book, Hyperdenture, states that an additional fee can be charged. In charging $100 for a single 45-minute session to break the smoking habit, Dr. Spiegel cited the reason of not wanting to be overrun patient. $100 is reasonable enough, but the point is medical hypnosis can and does make money. Writing on the subject, doctors usually make a first chapter statement that there is no great mystery about hypnosis, then proceed to drape it in history. That's rather human, but it doesn't substantiate ego value in hypnosis. It seems to go hand in hand with the money value. With or without the help of Dr. Rosen and the AMA, no person should go to a non-medical hypnotist for a medical problem. If I have an ache, the last person I'll see is my local hypnotist, and then only to trade reading matter. Medically, in most cases, hypnosis has absolutely no value. Of course, I have somewhat the same feeling about many psychoanalysis and psychotherapists. I have about as much faith in psychiatrist's couch as I do in flying carpet. And I'm now appalled at some of the psychology I've stuffed into my head and fully believed in earlier years. Since creation, pain has plagued man, and the single most fascinating aspect of medical hypnosis has been its use as a pain relief. It has been repeatedly claimed that surgery can be accomplished under deep trance without the patient feeling anything, and that dentistry can be accomplished without any sensation of pain. It simply isn't true. Under so-called deep hypnosis, the patient is aware of every cut or prick, but apparently, through his own defensive mechanism, rejects it as pain or transfers it or divides it up. Everything is felt, and the polygraph can prove this. Additionally, I've interviewed many patients, not one has denied the awareness of pain. Working as a consultant with qualified physician Dr. Robert Stein, I've conditioned more than 24 expectant mothers to have their children without anesthesia or with very little chemical anesthesia. In postnatal interviews, all admitted being aware of pain. They either rejected it or transferred it. For instance, we trained one young lady having her first child to sing through the labor pain and think of other things. This discomfort diminished, but through her own mechanism and not mine. She suggested her pain away, but was not in a trance, nor under hypnosis. In conducting tests with Dr. Barber, outside the laboratory, away from more or less controlled responses. We discovered that those people who were able to detect pain accomplished it basically in one of three ways. One, concentrated on something else, an incident in their lives, a person, a tranquil setting. Two, they believed they were apart from their body. And three, dispute the pain. I've got it to work. The pain is here, but I'll drive it up over my jaw. It isn't all in one place now. This is not hypnosis. It is self-generated use of natural auto-suggestion. For centuries, mothers and fathers have been practicing a form of it. When a child bumps his head or hurts his hand, the mother often consoles him. Johnny, you hurt your hand. Let me kiss it. Won't make the boo-boo go away. Depending on the injury and the intensity of the pain, the child is eased. The pain is sent. The mother did not produce a trance to accomplish it. No words except those of the instinct of love. The healing was within. Early surgery without anesthesia, estimated 5 to 10% of patients, according to medical reports, submitted to the knife without moaning or stirring. They seemed to resign themselves and showed little or no outward sign of pain. How did they do it? With no other explanation available, it had to come from within. They apparently handled their situation by natural autosuggestion. This means that the 90 to 95% manifest great pain were apparently not capable of utilizing self-suggestion or other mental defense mechanisms. Where the emotion leads off and the physical begins is another admitted unknown according to medical science. For a time, psychosomatic medicine was simplified to the point that for the layman, it meant that a physical problem created a mental problem or vice versa. Those experts in the field knew differently. Soon realizing there was no easy way to isolate the two, we are whole, totally interconnected. A common cold affects the outlook on life, our mental attitude, as well as the ability to function physically. A toothache is disturbing to the mind function as well as to the physical function. The human mind may well be the most important key toward working with that whole. Chapter 12. Able to pull a rabbit from a hat at the stage at the age of 10, practicing levitation before I needed to shave, and having discarded the only crystal ball I ever owned when I was 17, I find it hard to buy much of the occult at the age of 37. But I'm sure I'd feel more kindly toward mediums, seers, stargazers, witches, vampires, werewolves, if a sizable portion of the millions of Americans who purchase occult services and wars on of one type or another weren't being billed. Hey! Hey guys, see somebody in the room?
Hi, Robert.
Hey, how are you doing?
Okay.
Looks like, I'm sorry?
I said I'm doing okey doke.
Okie dokie, huh? Okay. That's me. I'm here just trucking along, doing the same old thing, living life, spending my money, going broke, just having fun.
Going broke. That's not good.
But that's the name of the tune, as they say.
Yeah.
Anyway, we might, I don't think we're going to get through it, but after today, it might only be one more day and we'll be done with this book. How about that?
That's good.
And then we'll go on to, I got to see if I can reach it. Then we'll go on. No, that's not it. Somewhere in here. Then we'll go on to this one here. The Greatest Miracle in the World
And who wrote that?
by Ogman Mendino.
Oh, yeah.
Ogmendino.
I read a couple of his. He's good.
Yeah, he is. Very good writer. So we'll enjoy that one too. Anyway, basically, he was just telling about how he thinks all this hypnosis stuff is a bunch of baloney. And when you read, and he says that the polygraph, or whatever they call that machine, when tested on people, the pain don't go away, but he's saying through autosuggestion to themselves, it seems to go away because people are controlling their own pain and has absolutely nothing to do with hypnosis. Anyway, I'll continue to read on. We're on chapter 12 right at the moment. And so I'll just start there. All righty?
Right.
Able to pull a rabbit from a hat at the age of 10, practicing levitation before I needed to shave, and having discarded the only crystal ball I ever owned when I was 17, I find it hard to buy much of the occult at the age of 37. But I'm sure I'd feel more kindly toward mediums and seers and stargazers and witches, vampires and werewolves if a sizable portion of the millions of Americans who purchase occult services and wares of one type or another weren't being bilked,
Don't know.
bilked,
Bilked. Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
getting the job, so to speak. Not everyone who believes, not everyone who believes in ESP believes in the occult. But every occultist I've ever known, and that numbers quite a few, accepts ESP for fact, often using it to authenticate their own special mystic art. In size, the occult swamps both the interest and endeavors into legitimate psychic phenomenon. Out of my library of more than 3,000 titles on psychic phenomenon, some 2,000 deal exclusively with the occult. They are interesting to read and often amusing, but most, I think, should be placed on the shelf with ghost stories. With a history dating back almost to the beginning of man, occultism has been a many tentacled octopus eating away at it and confusing serious research in telepathy, clairvoyance, psychokinesis, and other related fields of ESP. For good reason, the general public, as well as a portion of the scientific community not involved in parapsychology exploration, has seldom separated the two distinct areas, certain to last until the man's end, growing in population increases, even spurred by technology backlash. The occult will continue to put gruesome warts on parapsychology, twinning in and out of genuine phenomenon with one set of long jeweled fingers on reality, the other hand of the secret arts grasp a combination of religion. Bless you.
Thank you.
folklore, imagination, ignorance, insanity, and the unexplainable desire of man to believe in the impossible. Occult bookshops flourish in all the major cities. The publishing end of the occultism alone is worth millions, even to thriving book of the month type clubs. A late check of the paperback racks reveals dozens of titles from former carnival lion handler Anton Cinctor Lavetti, the Satanic Bible, to do-it-yourself witchcraft, the power of prayer on plants, and the cosmic forces of Mu. Other available wares would astound an old sorcerer. Ritual portions, oils for concentration and good karma and psychic sex, even aerosol sprays for better prayer are often along with black magic kits and seance kits and apparition kits and such ordinary items as crystal balls, new or used, plans for the astral projection, teleporting instructions, formulas for invisibility, and courses in everything from palm reading to palmistry to the understanding of Zoroastrianism, that's Zoroastrianism, the ancient Persian religion of fire worship.
Hmm.
What might be considered predictable, youth being explosive as well as easily led in that the most of the occult buyers, except those who follow astrology, and perhaps pathetic staples are under the age of 30. They are also white and middle class. Although the occult has its fair share of celebrants, that's celebrities. My mouth gets all tied up with them. In the wealthy suburbs, many have been to college and few pass as intellectuals but appear to be ignoring reality. For the time being, perhaps that's the name of the whole game. Hardly surprising is that hippie communes throughout America are reporting many incidences of psychic phenomenon, already pointed in the direction of the paranormal, embracing astrology, reading tarot cards, and I Cling, the Chinese book of forecast. They are often self-conditioned for imagined experiences in clairvoyance or telepathy. Dr. Kipner of the Main Eidos Dream Laboratory studied the experiences in 22 communes. His findings suggested that mind-altering drugs and yoga-type meditation were no doubt responsible for most of the psychic experiences. When conditioned consciousness is altered over an extended period of time, people tend to provide their own frame of reference to validate religious or paranormal occurrences. In mid-June 1972, Time magazine devoted a portion of an issue to the occult explosion, terming it a substitute faith. This is the area that can eventually send bats screaming out of the occult belfry. The other areas seem to rise and fall as crystal balls become cloudy or cracked. In addition to LaVey's colorful Church of Satan, duly recognized as a religion and incorporated under California laws, with a membership that cuts a wide but infamous swamp in society, there are an estimated 100 or more other occult denominations in the United States, all fulfilling metaphysical needs of one sort or another. They vary from old-fashioned spiritualism to nuclear age science groups, and whatever the brand, they have in common a money-making capacity. The occult clergyman is often well rewarded.
I'll bet.
Yeah, for sure. One of the current fads in the occult field is astral projection. There are physics and mystics all over the world who flatly claim they can send their other body or soul on exploration or observation trips around the universe, supposedly whistling through space. A few are sincere. Some may have produced a manifestation that satisfies them as being an actual experience. Hard to swallow, though, is the other body in detached form, soaring like an invisible bird. It is either psychosis or a rousing good dream. However, dreams are a natural, normal form of astral projection. In that sense, all of us take astral trips almost nightly. We are released to mind travel. Fortunately, most of us accept the fact that the mind stays where it should stay. After converting a bit, projecting imaginatively, the only body we have remains in bed. We awaken whole with a good or bad memory of the trip. Dreams often occur in the early stages of natural sleep, very often when a person is still partially awake, but asleep too, as we know sleep, which is another scientific mountain to climb. It happens to every normal person, an awareness that you are in a room but still somehow in a dream. Two, it can only be attributed at this point to mind distortion. Additionally, most people have occasionally experienced the feeling of floating away from themselves while falling asleep. A further inferent step in the dream state is the actual observation of the detached dreamer, astral projection, but non occult. A person sees himself from the third person point of view in all sorts of surroundings with other persons, known and unknown. Obviously, there is something, a feedback from the body, which increases a type of dream autosuggestion. Also, a type of mental telepathy is sometimes thought to be involved.
Hmm.
Many people have dreamed of levitation. They have seen themselves floating above the ground or running above it, much to their amusement and enjoyment, and much to the amazement of those observing below. One possible explanation is that sleep has made a part of the body dormant. Numbness has set in. Even in the half awake state, the person can feel flotation. He is no longer touching the bed. This same phenomenon goes a long way toward explaining the yogi who steadfastly believes he has levitated himself after sitting in his yoga position for hours. Legs crossed beneath him. Circulation has been cut off. So far as he is concerned, eyes straight ahead or closed in meditation, he has no feeling of roasting on earth in his mind where it counts. He is literally floating. Of all the occult pastimes, astrology is closest to fun. Yet I don't believe we are predestined. which is why I can't resolve star guidance. I treat astrology like perfume. I can savor it, but I don't wear it very well.
Mhm.
While I honestly attempt to be charitable about another person's occult beliefs, and I'm often asked in the question and answer period after a college performance to put blessings on a kindly bunch, the only safe reply is, I don't believe it. Some occultists almost plead for public substantiation, no matter how slim. I can try to fence the question by truthfully saying I'm not an authority or claim I'm not acquainted with that particular occult. Or spirit contact is a phenomenon that we awe and don't understand. But the psychic door is left open a crack and a covenant of witches fly through. Once I had a wild idea to gather all the promoters of the occult, the mediums, the soothsayers, the seers, the Satanist, palmist, pre-Nogologist, mind travelers, devils, vampires, voodoo doctors, to a psycho feast in Madison Square Garden and let them do their things in booths, orchestrated and stage lit. It might be the greatest show on earth and a bit beyond entirely commercial. And the only drawback I could see was that another 2 million people would become converts. Let's see, chapter 13. Yeah, I think we can do it. Chapter 13. The core of a seance, for good or evil, knowingly, fraudulent, or genuinely believed, is suggestibility. After the conditioning of hymns and holding hands, the sitters are emotionally receptive to signs of the departed ones. If they were not, how could one sitter recognize a glowing blue form as her deceased husband? The glowing blue form could be fashioned into any of 1,000 different objects, but suggestion directs it to be the late Mr. So and so, at least to the eyes of the widow. If delusion is desired, particularly anything is possible in a seance. In a darkened room, after the proper verbal conditioning, usually with religious overtones, the skilled medium can mechanically produce manifestations that are rather convincing. Emotionally charged, the person desired contact with a deceased loved one is an easy victim. But manifestations can be produced in a totally dark room without a medium and mechanics. My own experiences conducted with friends have produced colors, shapes, and movements within 20 minutes. We knew why we were in the room, but I was not acting as a medium. I did not speak after the lights went off, and the effect was like one of those picture spreads in the National Geographic of fish in Sardinian black 5 miles down in the ocean. The manifestations were imagined. They were self-generated by those within the room. After observing many seances, I have taken part in a few, hoping to learn something. I've never seen or heard anything that would legitimately indicate that one or more persons have been communicated with the spirit of the dead. In some cases, in certain, the medium steadfastly believed that he or she has penetrated the world beyond. Autosuggestion may play a part in this. The medium acting out a fully believable psychodrama in his or her mind or it is possible that telepathy in which the medium is receiving from the mind of the living dear one seated nearby is involved. Mediums of this type are seldom paid. Their reward is a sick fulfillment. The seance permits the role of God for an hour, but the majority of the spirit contacts are staged, cruel put-ons, another of the dangerous games of the occult. Hypothetically, let's say that the medium does have a capacity to communicate with a deceased person or a soul. She makes the contact in a darkened room, which is a neat theatrics or theater. Why not daylight? The spirit wouldn't care, and then begins passing information on to the living. In that setting, the information sounds authentic, mainly upbeat or benign, because the deceased is part of all harm or danger. Further, the deceased has achieved an unworldly wisdom, so can give fatherly advice. The seance may broaden as the result of feedback from the living person. Human Putney, P-U-T-T-Y.
Say again?
P-U-T-T-Y.
Putty.
Human putty at this point, especially if bereaved. Medium, I see an elderly woman standing by him. She's smiling as if they belong together. Widow, yes, oh yes, that's his mother. That's Al's mother. Medium, confidently and smoothly. Yes, incredible. Safety for the medium, it could be Al's deceased mother, sister, favorite aunt, teacher. Most people usually have a deceased elderly person somewhere in the background. The medium is not taking much of a chance when seeing an elderly woman standing by him. In the earliest known seances taking place more than 200 years ago, done for the enjoyment and not for spiritual contact, table legs wrapped, demonstrating the same phenomena as today's table tilting. They talked, hence the modern term table talk. In time, the medium took over and instead of asking, "Will it rain tomorrow?" posed, "Sam Fuller, do you hear me? Two raps, yes." Although the lovable William Food of Baltimore supposedly invented and did indeed patent the Ouija board in 1892, almost the same device called the parachute was available in France in the 17th century, and in those days it was thought that a spirit was taking over the body of the player, causing the movement of the small wooden pieces on the board, providing yes or no answers or telling the future. The same theory bobbed up in America at the turn of the century, adding weight to the spiritualist movement. Editorials in major newspapers gloomingly projected the Ouija board might destroy society and religion and doom us all. The fad, hot between 1912 and 1916, almost disappeared until it was revived again in a minor way in the 30s and 40s. It mushroomed once more in the late 60s when the Parker brothers bought the Flood family rights. One reason for the reoccurrence and recontinuing popularity in its game factor and social ramifications. Board resting on four knees with two sets of hands, preferably male and female, involved another reason is that it is kin to table tilting involving auto Matism, M-A-T-I-S-M.
MITSSN.
Genuine physical responses directed by the unconscious. The how and the why of automatism is another phenomenon yet to be explained, but it has nothing to do with spiritualism. Although man has been invoking gods or contacting spirits in one way or another since the beginning of recorded history, the present brand of spiritualism started in America in 1848 and soon became an export. England, never a land to reject ghost, welcomed the phenomenon. Two children, the Fox sisters, Catherine and Margaret, of Hydesville, New York, gave birth to the movement with the help of a friendly poltergeist, supposedly the ghost of a man murdered in their Satan old home. His name was Mr. Splitfoot. He freely he freely communicated with the children on command by rapping on walls and ceilings. The Fox family did not discourage their personable poltergeist, but opened the home to demonstrations attended by the press and the medical doctors and eventually the general public. Moreover, he was not a nasty ghost and didn't fling furniture. The demonstrations were so convincing that a portion of the public, both in America and England, those eager to believe not only in life after death, but in communication with the dead, a very natural longing, at last had undeniable proof. Spirits existed, could be verbally contacted, and for the Fox sisters became the first of many go-betweens or mediums. They didn't get around to confessing it was all a hoax until nearly half a century later. Catherine admitted the rappings came from crackings of their own knee joints to have this energy reverberate to walls and ceilings sounds implausible unless it is coupled with the stubborn conditioning of the witness. Simply, they wanted to believe and then suggested, snarled them. In most people, surface skepticism was a cover for a deep and ancient desire to accept spirits and spiritualism. The desire is still there. Sherlock Holmes' creator, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, took up spiritualism in 1916 at the age of 60. He claimed to have received a message on attending his first seance, but never revealed the message. Later, using his skill as a writer, he endorsed many mediums. Unfortunately, many were revealed to be frauds, and Conan Doyle didn't stop at spiritualism. He maintained that Hindus' feats were not altogether physical, that Hindu dematerialized and then materialized in accomplishing certain routines. Hindu prodded at the idea that the gentlemen had once been friends. Chronicles of Thomas Alva Edison have been remarkably silent, almost the inventor's interest in psychic phenomena, perhaps judging that facet as a damaging to his overall genius. Yet Edison had told his friend P.C. Forbes, founder of Forbes magazine, that he was intrigued with communication to a life hereafter. On October 20th, 1920, Scientific American quoted Edison, "If our personality survives, it is strictly logical and scientific to assume it retains memory, intelligence, faculties, and knowledge that we acquire on this earth. it is reasonable to conclude that those who leave this earth would like to communicate with those left behind. Edison was apparently serious about inventing an instrument so delicate as to be affected or moved or manipulated by a personality as it survives in the next life. Such an instrument, when made available, ought to record something. The inventor never got around to making his instrument, for which he should perhaps be thankful. But belief in spiritualism has been universal from White House occupants to 10 Downing Street, Abraham Lincoln, and some passing interest in spiritualism, and did of record attend several seances, perhaps only to find out why they were attracting the attention of Mary Todd Lincoln. Canada's Prime Minister William Mackenzie King attended seances to discuss various matters thought to be personal rather than affairs of state with his deceased mother. He also claimed to have spoken with his sister Isabel and brother MacDougall. While I do have a deep personal belief in a hereafter, I remain steadfast, spiritualistic heretic. And then we go to chapter 4, but I think we'll stop there. And let me mark it. And I will go ahead. Oh, excuse me. And